These are the best indicators for guaranteed success and happiness in your life. So I have a question for you. Are you someone who has had success in their life, but yet still feel like there's another level to your success? Are you someone that is looking for more happiness, right? More happiness, whether it's in their life, their business, their careers, their relationships. Is that something that you feel that you're lacking? Is that something that you wish you had more of? If so, this podcast episode is just for you. And I'll tell you why. What I've noticed is that a lot of us tend to have the wrong, let's say, map when it comes to becoming successful or to becoming happy. And it's very ironic. It's the things that you would never guess. And it's almost like these secrets that only a select few people know. And I'm going to share these things with you. When it comes to success, it's something that we're all looking for. As a matter of fact, about 3 years ago, I went to a conference about entrepreneurship and they're talking about marketing. And the guy got up there and talked about two things that people are looking for when it comes to success or when it comes to the things that they want in their life. And one of them is success, and the other one is happiness. He talked about how even with McDonald's, they came out with this thing called the Happy Meal, right? We all know about this. It's something that we're all in search of. And I have more that I can say about that, right? Like being in the search or the pursuit of something, right? Like it almost indicates that you already don't have it. Thus, that is why you're searching for it. But that's going to be another topic for another time. What I want to do is, again, I want to go into the indicators for guaranteed success and happiness, because what you're doing right now may be a lot of different things. You may be doing all the things in the books that they tell you to do, all the podcasts that you listen to, all the conferences that you're gone to, but yet you may still be finding that you're lacking that success or that happiness. And after just simply speaking and meeting with so many different people throughout my journey as a therapist and coach, there are these two things that I know that if you were to capitalize on, you'll be able to find that success and happiness, no questions asked. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get into it. So, the first main point that I want to make is in regards to success and how to actually guarantee it, how to find it. And my first main point for this is simple. Your success is going to be determined by how much you are actually willing to fail. And I can even make a second argument to that. So, maybe one point B, right? 1B, if you will, is not only that finding out how much you're willing to fail, but it's how you hold that failure once you have it. Because for a lot of people, they tend to take their successes very personal, right? And sometimes we think there's nothing wrong with that. Something that I see a lot of great leaders, one guy in particular, and it's a lot of people, but I've seen this a lot with this one guy in particular. His name was Jalen Hurts from the Philadelphia Eagles. He plays quarterback for them. And this year, they really didn't have the best year, but the year prior, they actually made it to the Super Bowl and they lost to Patrick Mahomes. But one thing that like a lot of people give him a lot of praise for is his leadership skills. And I tell you, I have been hard pressed to find at least one interview where he doesn't talk about his teammates and giving them all the praise and all that other stuff, right? Same thing with Lamar Jackson, who just won an MVP. One of the first things he said was, man, I'm not out there blocking. I'm not out there catching passes. I'm not out there calling the plays, right? I'm the guy that's just simply throwing the ball where it needs to be thrown, giving it to the running backs that need to be getting to, like all of those things, right? So these guys, they don't take their success personal, right? They don't take it too personal. But also, they don't take their losses too personal as well. A big thing that keeps people from trying is that fear that if they fail, that means that themselves are now that of a failure. And the question would be is who wants to be known as a failure, right? Not too many people. But that's why we want to make sure we don't take these things too personal. But let me back up a little bit. Let me go back into the main point that I just made. Again, how much you're willing to fail will determine how successful you will be. And the reason why is because by being willing, by giving yourself the chance to actually succeed, you first have to admit that you may suffer some losses. Something that I see that stops a lot of people from being successful, and I see this a lot of times, whether it's in my personal life, right, talking to friends, family, or whoever, but obviously in the work that I do, it's this fear of losing money, right? It's this fear of losing something that they've worked really, really hard for. And, depending on how you grew up, money may have been seen as this almighty thing that we have to protect at all costs. And I could probably make the case that to a degree that is okay. But it's the belief that if I put this dollar out for me, it will come back twofold, threefold, tenfold, if you will. And that's the mindset that we have to have. In other words, that abundance mindset. That abundance mindset, it allows you to take chances and risks that other people are not willing to take chances on. Just think about it. I'll try to give an example here. Imagine two people, they've both been told, hey, in 10 years, you're going to get a job of being a surgeon, right? And let's say they both are given the price tag of becoming a surgeon, right? So going through school and all that stuff is, let's just say $500,000, right? It's like from going to undergrad to grad school, medical school, like all that stuff. Like it's a long time and it may take longer than 10 years, but let's just say it's 10 years, it's going to cost them $500,000. If someone were to say, no, that's too much, I'm not going to do it, I'm just going to try to learn it on my own, I'm going to look through all the books, watch all the YouTube videos and things like that, will they be successful? I'd be hard pressed to say yes. I don't think I've ever seen something like that. And that's removing the fact that legally you have to be like, licensed and pass tests and all that stuff. But what I'm trying to say is the person who actually says yes to investing the time, but also the money, they're going to be more well equipped to be able to attack this challenge that's being faced with them. Now, let's take that example and apply it to, let's say, business. If there's a coaching program, a course, a conference, whatever it is, and if you were to tell yourself it's too much and that you shouldn't go, think about what it is that you'd be missing. Think about the cost of not going. Think about the time that you'd be wasting for the next year, 2 years, 3 years, going in the wrong direction because you've been given the wrong tools, you've been given the wrong techniques, right? All because you didn't go to this conference. So what I'm trying to say is money, time, and I can even say effort, right? Because some people don't want to waste their effort. They feel like, if I'm going to fail, why would I do this thing anyway? Like when people start to see these things as a waste, right? That's when they start to put a cap on their success. But if you're willing to give those things up, if you're willing to make those sacrifices, I guarantee that you will have success in your life. I love this topic so much, I have to almost like pull myself back and not make this whole podcast episode about this one point because there's another point that I want to make. But the way we hold bad times determines how we will do in good times as well. It determines how much of these good times we will have as well. And it's the same thing with success and failure. How you're able to handle yourself in the midst of a failure, how much you're willing to fail will determine how much success you will have because you're going to put yourself through debts, trials and tribulations, learning lessons that other people just simply aren't willing to learn. Because what's happening is when you're going through those times, there's something inside of you that's being created. There's something inside of you that's being transformed. And this is the thing that's going to help you to maintain the success once you get it. Okay? So what does all this mean for you? Well, I want you to start to ask yourself, what are you willing to give in order to get the level of success that you're looking for? Point number 2, this is the best indicator when it comes to happiness. And truthfully, guys, it comes from how little you actually need to be satisfied. Happiness nowadays has become a drug. It's become something that we're all in the quest of, right? And as I mentioned earlier, when you're in the quest of something, what it does is it reinforces the fact that it's missing in the first place. And that's a whole episode that I can do. I may actually do that. But think about this, guys. As I mentioned earlier in this podcast, even McDonald's has adopted something called the Happy Meal. And that may have been like back in the 60s or 50s or something like that, right? And as a result, you've seen other restaurants pick up this idea of selling happiness. And as I mentioned, happiness has now become this drug. And for some people, it is literally what they find when they're using drugs. So whether it's marijuana or hard drugs like cocaine, heroin, or even things like alcohol, sex, I can even say money. These things have been things that they're predicating their life on. It's like, if I don't have these things, my life is a mess. If I don't have happiness, that means that my life is worthless. So it becomes very black and white, if you will. But the thing is the less you need in order to make you happy and fulfilled will make you the richest person in the room. Something that happened maybe like a few days ago, I was sitting with my son. We were in our guest room, which we now use kind of like as a playroom. We were sitting in, I had all his toys and a bunch of books on the bed, and I kind of just sat there and just, wanted to spend some dad and son time with him. And what was amazing to me was that when I sat him down on the bed, he skipped over all the toys and he picked up a book. And then he proceeded to take that book, and he's 1 year old, guys. He proceeded to take that book and literally place it in my hand. And then he sat back and looked at me, just waiting for me to start reading. That made my day. And it's something that even literally today, I had him do it just to make sure that it wasn't by coincidence. But guys, that made my day. I didn't have to make a lot of money for this to be my day. I didn't have to go on a big trip to Jamaica, Hawaii, Paris, or whatever the case it may be in order for it to be a good day, right? It's the little things that can truly, truly make me happy. And this is something that would guarantee that you have that happiness, because when the big things come, right, it will just expand and exponentiate the happiness that I already have in my life. But the more that you need in order to make you happy, the more depressed you will find yourself, the more dissatisfied you'll find yourself. It's kind of like when someone is using marijuana consistently or alcohol consistently or any other drug, their tolerance, it starts to go up, meaning they need more of this drug, more of this alcohol in order to get them to feel that high or that buzz that they're looking for. And what we want to do is we want to lower that, because sometimes, guys, things in life just won't be perfect. It won't always rain, right? Or it won't always be sunshine and rainbows, and also it won't always rain, right? Like if you need it to be that, in order for me to have a good day, to be on time and do what I say, or in order for it to be a good day, I need my spouse, my partner, my kids, or whoever to do exactly what I say. I need to have, made money that day. If you're in sales, like if you're holding yourself to that standard, you will always find yourself in the quest, or I can even say at the mercy of external things that may not bring you that long-term happiness that you're looking for. So again, how little you need for happiness will determine exactly how happy you will be, and it will guarantee that you will find happiness. So what does this mean for you? I want you just to focus on this question. What is the bare minimum of the things I need in order to feel happy, right? In order to be happy. What is it that I need? Not all the extra stuff. Don't make it grand, but try to ask yourself, if I just had one thing, if I had to narrow it down, what would that one thing be that would bring me happiness? And then point number 3, because at first I only wanted to do 2, but I said, you know what, let me give a bonus. So point number 3, this is a bonus, a great indicator for success and happiness, and it's how much you believe in the concept that life is happening for you and not to you. Because here's the thing that I see a lot. I see a lot of people see things as challenges and not as opportunities. The things that I'm doing in my business, if you will, man, guys, I gotta admit, it's hard. It's hard. There are days where I'm asking myself, did I make the right decision? And there's nothing wrong with having those doubts, and I'll talk a little bit about that later in another podcast. But what's great about this hard road is that I know that it's so hard that some people who are going to try to follow me on this path, they're going to fall off. Therefore, when I make it to the end of this road and I'll stop and I look up, there will only be a select few people in that stratosphere with me. And the chances are those people in that stratosphere that does the same thing that I do, the way that I do it, is very slim. Actually, I could probably say it's one in literally 7 billion, right? Like, it's very rare. That's why I see it as being a gift whenever there's something hard that I'm doing and I'm able to capitalize on it. So what I see a lot is that people tend to have a victim's mentality versus a victor's mentality. A victim's mindset, there's someone who believes that there's someone out there to get them, right? Their success is being capped by some outside force that they have no control over, right? They tend to blame other things and tend to allow life to kind of just, like I said, happen to them. But a victor's mindset, this is someone who believes that they can create their own success, and some people even say, even create their own luck, right? Because a lot of times people say, oh, you're just lucky, or, oh, you're just blessed, which is very, very true. But I can also, again, argue that we're blessed because we've done the work, okay? And there's a lot of scriptures in the Bible about that. There's a real great one in Proverbs. I don't know it the scripture off the top of my head where it's at, but it says, idle hands makes for the poor, right? Idle hands makes for the poor. So what I'm trying to now say is that if you're able to find that thing that's inside of you that allows you to develop this victor's mentality, right? If you're able to see that life is happening for you and not to you, if you're able to see all these things as really like things that can motivate you and push you and show you why you should do the hard things, or why losing this job that you had was actually a great thing, right? Like if you can see all this stuff, it'll allow you to keep pushing forward to actually obtain and grasp the blessings, the successes, and the dreams that you have for yourself. So, what does this mean for you? Well, how you approach life will determine the life that you will have. So, again, these are the three things that will guarantee success and happiness in your life. And point number one, just to summarize these, is that how much you're willing to fail will actually determine how successful you will be. Point number two is that the less you need to make you happy will guarantee more happiness that you will have. And then point number three, make sure that you see that life is happening to you, or I'm sorry, happening for you and not to you. Have a victor's mentality, not a victim's mentality. And these things will definitely guarantee that you have the success and happiness that you're looking for in every facet of your life. So make sure you check out this podcast. Make sure you comment. Make sure you subscribe. I love hearing from you guys. And as always, thanks for showing up. All right, I'll see you later.